What is with you and incest
You
this
know,
week?
it's just a theme this week, which I had to mention. And that's not on me. That's on Back to the Future, just so we're clear.
Oh, my God.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined, as always, by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Denise Hughes.
That's me.
I was going to say, they can't see your nod. We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. And we are more than pleased to be hanging out with you again another week. We love you so much. I was just looking at our download numbers. This is exciting. Let's talk stats, shall we?
Okay, but we also want to say we have a president. Yay. Okay, bye.
Yes, I think people know that.
We didn't have one last time, and I really enjoyed listening back to last week's episode, being like, we didn't know it was going to be, and now here we are.
We had a president then, really technically the same president we still have now, but we do have a new president-elect since last time. But yes, that is...
Okay, fine.
We're recording on Friday the 13th, which really means nothing, but it's kind of cool.
It is Friday the 13th. Ooh.
It is indeed Friday the 13th. Now, there are so many balls in the air right now, the narratively, that I'm trying to juggle. Which direction do you want to go?
I'm glad you were like, narratively. There's not actually balls in the air.
There's so many balls around here, you guys.
Well, yeah, you do have 4 sons, so I'm sure there are a lot of balls in that house.
You know, sometimes I am more aware than others of hurting the cats in this podcast, and this is one of those moments.
The answer is, let's talk about downloads.
Okay, yes, I brought that up because... I had literally forgotten. I'm not kidding you. Like we had walked through so many doors since then that I had literally forgotten what we were talking about. Yeah, we had the best month ever downloads in October.
What?
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
We were doing bad. We were doing bad. We were doing bad before. What?
No, it's been a steady increase. It was just a really great month, and I was looking, and I was just thinking how thankful I am that there are tens of thousands of people who want to download this show listen to us talk about Sins videos. Like, that's really cool, and we're very appreciative of you.
Maybe in 20 years we'll be half the audience of Sincast. Maybe we can hope.
Maybe.
Yes.
Hey,
we're
only
niche.
if we should maybe go and try to see if they'll let us on their show and see if some of their fans want to come over here.
Did you see Jeremy guested on our friend Patrick's show, Finley Ash on Twitter, and I actually commented on his when he shared that. I was like, he won't even guest on ours.
That's right. Does that mean you'll be on Behind the Sins someday?
But then Patrick kindly said he would be more than happy to guest on ours. I was like, well, thank you.
We didn't
Thanks,
ask
Patrick.
you, Patrick.
That's right. We were talking to you. All right, let's get into the show. We'll kick it off with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sinning them, how we felt about the stuff that we are sinning in general. In TV Sins World first, as we do every week, Futurama. We're doing another episode of Futurama, one of my favorite all-time shows. The Farnsworth Parabox is a great episode of Futurama that we're getting a chance to take a look into. This was a Dicer Hughes script. Danae and myself writing on this one. Danae, I'll come to you first because I forget what your overall experience with the show is. But I do want to know specifically how you felt about this episode.
I had never watched before sinning them, but I really enjoyed the show. I think it's an interesting and fun, and it's one that I think I would pick up just to put in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there are some character development stuff that obviously I'm missing out on because we're skipping around. Obviously, we're not doing every single episode in order or anything. So, like the Leela and Fry, like potential hookup is sort of played into in this one. This alternate universe where they actually got together. So it makes me wonder what other things I'm missing by not watching every episode of the show. But I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's clever. I like how it's animated. I remember sitting the first one and thinking, this is hard to sin because they've thought things through. And, sometimes there's continuity in the background or there's just these strange things, but it kept answering my questions for it. So it seems like a little well thought out world. And this one, of course, kind of turns it on its head and brings in this alternate dimension kind of stuff going on. So yeah, I like it. It's one of those that when I get assigned to it, I'm like, yay, instead of like, oh, fuck, which is the next one we'll talk about.
Ooh, a little bit of a tease. Well, we will leave that ball in the air for now, for what's coming up next, and continue
Which is
to
where
talk,
they go.
which apparently,
Appropriately.
And we will continue talking about this show. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Oh, I liked it. I know I had seen it before, but honestly, the only thing I could remember was Fry had dark hair. That was like the only thing. Because as soon as I saw that him pop out with the dark hair, I was like, oh yeah, it's this one.
That's
Free
right.
has dark hair. I remember this one.
It's kind of this funny one where the scientist guy, he creates their universe in a box or another universe in a box, and simultaneously they're doing the same thing, and then they go into the box, and then they're chasing through all these universe boxes to try to, get theirs back before it's ultimately destroyed at the sun. It's just this fun sort of chase episode.
I like how it got really chaotic there at the end.
Yeah.
And it was just like, whatever, there's a bunch of boxes. We're going to have some fun.
And how they pulled them into each other at the end with the arms kind of reaching in. That was exciting.
This episode, more than any other, makes me really feel like Futurama is a bit of a Rick and Morty, a precursor in many ways.
This is the G-rated version of Rick and Morty.
Yes, yeah. It is because it's doing a lot of the same thing where it's trying to actually think through sci-fi things, but also use them for humor and be silly with them and be crazy. And this episode, more than any other, really you feel that same DNA that kind of runs through a lot of the Rick and Mortys, in more of a Matt Groening way, obviously. Which is why I love the show and always have. I really have been glad to see it come back a few times and do more stuff. I'm glad there continues to be a fan base for it.
Because is this the one that got canceled and then they brought it back on Sci-Fi? And they did like movies or episodes or something, I feel like.
So, okay, I'm going to take a shot at this off the top of my head, and then we should probably look it up. But off the top of my head, I believe they got canceled, then brought back, and I think you're right. I don't think it was on Fox. I think when they got brought back, it was like Cartoon Network or Sci-Fi or something like that. And then canceled again, and then brought back again as movies. And they did like 4 or 5 hour-long specials, movie specials, and then canceled again. Well, not necessarily canceled because I think they were planning on doing the movies they did. But then they came back recently with a radio play. They did like a full new episode as a radio play recently on a podcast. And so it's been really interesting to kind of see that world continue to thrive. And I'm very glad. So yeah, I really love this show. It's one of my favorites. Let's talk about the video itself. And Jonathan, you get to kick us off since you apparently didn't write on any TV sins this week.
Real quick, it looks like it aired for 4 seasons on Fox, and it was canceled in 2003. Came back in 2008.
Yeah, 5 years later. Yeah,
Comedy Central.
Then
aired, and then they did 3 seasons between 2008 and 2013.
Yeah. Yep.
And then and then like you said, there was probably some movies or something. I remember
they did movies after that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So it was either they did movies after that, or they did movies to end that run, or it was something like that. But it's just been such an interesting, fun story for the fans to kind of go, oh, new Futurama stuff. And with animation, you can do that, right? So yeah, it's really fun. What were your thoughts on the video, Jonathan?
It was very funny. I shadowed this one and had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed taking the Lordy Lou's name in vain. I thought it was very funny.
I had that one too.
I love how you guys ended the one sin or penis size. That's, anytime you say penis, you got my attention. It's good stuff. According to the Ashton Kutcher documentary Butterfly Effect, I thought that was really fun. But my favorite was, I loved the despite being universes apart, everyone hears this. was very funny.
That's true.
You guys also did the Aaron. I was guessing Aaron because he likes to mess with this, but one of you did the treating it like it was a live action show, where you were talking about how they did the prop work.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite sins that I did not write. Danae actually did that. So
I'm sorry. That's why I just said I don't need to say that, because It could
It's
be
fine.
any of us.
I don't care.
But
No,
I
it's
just
good.
know
I love it. I love how collaborative we are, and that we, find each other's ideas so fun and interesting that we want to kind of do them ourselves or whatever. And so no, I was glad to see it. It's one of my favorite sins in the script. So that's good stuff. Danae, what other ones did you want to mention?
The lead-in is like, I don't know what's in there, but I'm sure our minds won't be able to comprehend it. And then the sin is like, and yet the professor will now spend the remainder of the episode explaining what's in the box so we can comprehend it.
That's right.
That was my most frustrating thing about this episode, actually, was that part where he really does just continue to try to explain how any of this works. So why have him say that at the beginning when you don't have to?
Right.
Or maybe that's just part of their humor and I missed it. Purity pledges cracked me up. And then the repeat joke of the TV sins defenders. That there was a purposeful kind of repetition to that that kind of contradicted each other a little bit. I thought that was really fun.
I also liked, I believe you mean your worst, when Bender was saying that he would do his best about being a bad Bender. It's just such a great point. Meanwhile, in Universe A, Hermes A heads towards the Sun A, and the sin was Canadian accents because of all the A's. Loved that.
Good stuff.
When he pops his head in the box and it's the all women universe and he comes out with lipstick all over him, just thinking through how that would have had to have happened in that universe is so easy to nitpick. I mean, it's just like, so I really enjoyed that one, that, it was a planet of all women, and not only all women, but who wear various shades of lipstick and are perched over this box ready to kiss anybody that pokes their head through. Like, okay, whatever.
and we're complaining about this?
Where is this box exactly?
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, fun stuff. I hope we do more Futurama in the future. Ramas.
Aaron, I just want to take a moment to remind you that you and Jonathan both control the schedule. So if you wanted to make that happen, you could. Okay.
I think I would think that at some point in the future, Futurama will pop back up.
You don't need to break the verbal reality here. The idea that these just fall from the sky and we have to do what we're told.
That's right.
Like that allows us a level of separation when people don't like what we do.
Here's how it works, guys. All the comments essentially just sprinkle and rain down from above.
Right.
So every time that there's one that's mentioned, and the more it's mentioned, the heavier it becomes. It gets closer and closer to Earth. That's when we can grab it, pluck it off of the sin tree, so to speak.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to The Crown. Wolferton Splash is the name of the pilot episode. Danae's eyes have rolled out of her head already. Danae.
Oh, I'm so curious to hear why you hated this.
Yeah, tell us all about your loathing of this show.
Because you like historical stuff, right?
Like you said Wolferton Splash. I'm like, wolf. I just like, wolf. All I can think about.
You don't like British people?
I hate British people.
Yeah, I understand.
No, it's not about British people.
I know.
I am not somebody who enjoys historical dramas usually.
Oh, okay. I thought you did for some reason. I guess I was thinking,
No.
I don't know why I thought that. So never mind.
But
ignore what I said.
I can be surprised every so often. That's super okay. But this one was really, really hard for me for a lot of reasons. The first one being that I was originally given the disc and told the wrong file. So I started watching this show on an episode that I was just dropped into their universe without any understanding of who anybody was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we were pointed to the second episode, I believe, where they land on
on their honeymoon, I guess.
Well, it's technically
No.
No, it's not
It
their
wasn't their
honeymoon.
honeymoon.
It's just they're taking a trip to Africa, and
It's when the king passes away.
yes,
It's that episode.
which I think is the second episode. Yeah, spoiler alert:
So-
King dies.
Can you spoil something that's based on like
Sure,
history?
sure, of course you can.
Sure.
Of course you can.
Of course. So anyhow, that was my first thing. I literally wrote Aaron, I was like, my eyes have dried to crackers. This is so boring. And he goes, congratulations, you've written your first sin. I was like, you bastard.
Well, this also plays into the fact that, and I know you hate this, but when you loathe something like this, if we ever do it again, you're on the script. Like it's
I
just,
know, it's awful. It's really awful. And what's awful, what makes it worse is that I'm literally over here like, dear Lord, please help this video to tank. Please have no one watch this and leave comments like, this is trash, so that I never have to do this again. No, it wasn't. It was well done. When I look at it with that kind of perspective, like we're seeing countryside, we're seeing the inside of these beautiful places. We're getting this look into a curiosity, like a culture curiosity for the royal family, behind the scenes look. There's so many people who love the history of this, and I understand why. But I had the same reaction to Downton Abbey, and I wrote on Downton Abbey, and it's just like, I guess I just don't. It's not that I don't care about the people, because that's the other hard thing about this, is these are real people. There has probably not been a more uncomfortable moment in my job than when I'm writing a sin and the queen is still alive and she's like, yo, it was uncomfortable. I was like, how do I feel about
Queen
this?
Elizabeth watching this episode of TV Sins?
I mean, would she ever? No, of course she's not. But maybe her family would, because they watch The Crown, right? And they got her to watch this show. And so she's actually watched the show. So is there a chance that the royal family is going to find on YouTube our script and be like super offended at something that I wrote, because I'm forgetting that they're real freaking people? I had many moments writing this one where I was genuinely uncomfortable. And so, it was a weird one. It was a weird one.
We're mean though. Like, we're making jokes. We go out of our way to not be mean.
But there's this, like, when I wrote the joke about not naming his cancer, I just think about that and I'm like, her dad died. Like, and we're saying like, don't name it because you don't want to keep it. And that would be like, I would be really hurt if somebody did that.
I'd be really excited the queen watched our video. So
I don't know. Maybe I'm too sensitive.
Listen, I hear what you're saying, and in many ways identify with what you're saying. I think we do a pretty good job of walking that line.
I think we did.
I think the joke you mentioned is a great joke. It is something that both of us brought up in our scripts, and we used your joke, and because it's a great joke. And I don't think in any way it's like there's any kind of joy in the real life situation. There's just an observation that was a weird thing to say, in that moment when you really think.
And then it's just like, and like Aronson was like, let's name it Ted or Marcus or something like this. And I was just thinking about, stray animals and how if you name them, then you want to keep them. But that's just one example of the writing process on this one that was so strange. So not only is it like, I don't really want to know all of this history, and yet I looked up more stuff on research for this one than I have in a long time, because they're all real people.
That's good. You can tell us all about it and keeping tabs, because I wrote on nothing this week, so you can take up my segment too.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to exaggerate when I tell you I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tabs that I saved my search just to let you know, like, what I searched and researched.
When Danae said that thing about the Queen, though, that's funny. That reminds Lin-Manuel Miranda. I saw him in an interview when they debuted Hamilton in England, and he was watching it with like Harry and Philip or whatever, and they King was what is the King in Hamilton? Is it George?
George, yeah.
He's like, they're like, great grandfather or whatever, and he completely like just makes a lot of fun of him in Hamilton, and he's just sitting there by these guys like, oh my God, I hope they find this funny. And they did, because it's all in good fun, right? I mean, so I don't know, that's just what that made me think of. My wife really was glad we were doing this, because she's been trying to get me to watch this show forever. My wife loves historical. She loves what she calls getting her history on, is what she calls it. And she's super fascinated with British royalty and stuff, just that whole system and the history of it. So she's like, she can't wait till we're recording this 2 days before the new season premieres.
Correct. Yep.
And she's just like counting the hours basically. And I watched this. So this is the first time I'd ever seen it. I watched it because I was shadowing, and it was okay. Like, it was, I don't know that I really want to watch any more of it though, unless we send it, but it was great cast. Amazing cast. was just beautiful. They clearly put a lot of money into this.
Right. It's well done.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I don't know. It didn't capture anything. And like, I wasn't like, I don't know. I felt very distant from it. Like I never really got involved.
I think if it's a show where like the action is political in nature, I tend to just sort of like, sort of like just check out.
Yeah.
But they do a pretty good job in this one of making the action about the relationships, which I think is a really fascinating part of looking in on the royal family. So I wouldn't like keep watching it to learn more, but it was well done, but it's just not my jam. Aaron, what did you think, though?
I did find out that Gillian Anderson comes on as Margaret Thatcher, though, which kind of interests me.
So the casting remains amazing.
Yeah.
Every season, I shouldn't say every season, I think the first 2 seasons remain with some of the same cast, but it gets recast because the characters age so much that they continue to recast the main roles, which is very fascinating to me. I love this show. My wife and I have watched every episode together. It's one we love watching together. I love it for the behind-the-scenes political intrigue, action stuff that's not necessarily appealing to you, Danae. I enjoy the prestiginess of it because, like you said, they're definitely putting everything into this through the casting, through the production. Like they're doing it up. Like there's nothing halfway about what's going on here. And so that's appealing to me. I like watching good TV, and this is good TV.
Right.
And so I am enjoying it. I think I said I loved it. But it's a light love. It's not going to find its way into my, best shows of all time. It's not even probably in my top 10 of the last year kind of thing, but I really do enjoy watching it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the performances and then the things I would have never thought of. There'll be an episode about how television became more a part of their lives over Queen Elizabeth's reign, where it was like before Queen Elizabeth, there was radio and TV was a baby, but then it became a thing where kind of, in many ways, kind of how social media has started to define politics in the last decade. TV started to define politics and fame and celebrity, and that was a weird thing for them to navigate. I never thought about that. There's this idea of how the royal family interacts with the political process in England that I'm enjoying seeing the behind the scenes of that because it's very different than us. We don't have a royal family. It's sometimes I think we should. Sometimes I think if we had not necessarily a monarch in the sense of monarchy, but if we had a family that could take the burden of the exploitation out of the president, where, then the president and the Congress and the courts could just do their job while the magazine tabloid nature would go to this other family. Like that's kind of a nice distraction because they're not really ruling, but at the same time, they're important, So I don't know. Sometimes I think we could use that because instead we get, the tabloid presidential thing. You know what I mean? Like we put that on them. So I don't know. That's a weird thought, but it's a thought I had while watching the show, and that's kind of why I like watching it because it kind of makes me think about different ways that power manifests, different ways that power is seen in different countries.
So did they start? I guess they're on right now they're on the whole Princess Di.
That's this
Prince
season.
Charles.
That's the new season that's coming out. Yes.
Oh, they haven't done that yet. Then that's going to be in the new season.
Correct.
And Olivia Colman's playing her now, right?
Correct.
The Queen.
Yeah.
And then I saw they had already cast for the last 2 seasons. It's going to be I think it was the woman who played she was in Harry Potter. I can't remember who she played in the Harry Potter movies, but she played one of the teachers or something.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, I do like how they're doing that, where they're recasting and they're going forward, and they actually they had a plan, which is something I always enjoy. Like if you're going to do one of these, art type shows, I love that you actually have an ending in mind, or you know when you're going to end. But I don't know, maybe and maybe at some point I'll check it out
It's
again.
good. It's really well done.
It's going to be down the list a little bit.
But it is what it is. And if you didn't like the pilot, I don't blame you for never picking it up.
I didn't dislike the pilot. It just never really grabbed my attention.
You know what it is? It is one of the shows that goes against what I've said before. I think the binge model of TV that Netflix has emphasized has damaged TV watching in a lot of ways. And I think we've talked about that on occasion. This is one of the shows that's the exception to that rule for me. This is a show that binging really helps because
it almost feels like a miniseries.
Because each season is kind of a miniseries. And my wife and I definitely binged it. And it was one of those things where on a Sunday we watched 5 episodes or, something like that. And that gets you into this world a little deeper in the characters.
Didn't you?
Yeah. Crumpets, tea.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
Piggy's
Don't
Extended.
even lie. You did. You have like you're like playing music, like royal music before you start watching.
Of course.
Because the Dicers have traditions.
That's right, we do.
The Hughes and the Watkins do not. But the Dicers are all about the traditions.
Jonathan, what about the video? Let's move into that. What are some of your thoughts on the video itself?
It's always going to be Jonathan. What about the video? Because I wrote on nothing. Well, that's not true. I wrote on MVS.
Yeah, you did.
But anyways, this was great. I remember this was one of those. I had some stuff written down when I was about to read the script, but you guys hit everything I mentioned, so it was perfect. That's not funny. That's just poor spelling. I thought was great. I also liked you guys at least add a UE to a word like a good chap. Mm-hmm. Leaving floral shrapnel on the table had me dying. Calling it lung removal shenanigans was also very nice.
That was uncomfortable. Like watching surgeries.
Oh,
before,
no, it was. I mean, I saw
like
it, yeah.
Our modern day surgeries compared to what they have going on, realizing that he wasn't taken to a hospital, that it's just like, it was for privacy reasons, which again, you talk about, Aaron, that there's a family that sort of takes the heat for being in the public eye. Mm-hmm. That's something that, what a sacrifice to make.
Yeah.
And I guess not everybody,
the show
really
deals
wants
with that. Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
not positive they go to the hospital now. I mean, that is very likely that they have a doctor come to them. Yeah.
Well, we've just recently been through our president having to go to the hospital. He has pretty much the same thing with Walter Reed. That's why we call it Walter Reed in the Sins video at one point.
True story.
So yeah.
So that was hard to watch because you're just like, they're removing a guy's lung.
Well, and the hardest part is, and they're not really telling him. He has, it's just so strange that they would.
Hey, but did you know this though, that it was fake? It was TV.
That was a real lung that they took out of a real person.
They removed that dude's lung.
They were
the
so
guy from
dedicated.
Mad Men. I can't think of that actor's name, but I really like him.
Yeah,
the guy who plays the king.
He's the guy from Mad Men, right? And Fringe.
Can I ask a question? Have you seen him in something else? Does he just have a raspy voice, or like? Is that does he have a raspy voice? Because his portrayal of somebody who is dealing with lung cancer, his coughing was genuinely unnerving. I was genuinely disgusted. I actually physically gagged. Because there's this moment right at the very beginning when they're coughing, but there's this one particular phlegm-ridden cough that is so legitimately real sounding that I literally, my stomach turned and I gagged because it just sounded so horrible, what a great way to kick off your series, Crown,
Mm-hmm.
It's Jared Harris.
Yes,
and yes, he does
he have
kind of
voice?
He does. I think he was trying to sound a little older than he actually is.
He did great because it sounded like he was labored in breathing and he was coughing and just raspy.
He has one of the saddest story arcs in Mad Men that I've ever seen on any television show.
I didn't look this up, and now I want to know who was coughing in that opening. Like, they need to go to the doctor themselves because it was so disturbing.
Hey, Danae, that was somebody acting.
That's acting.
Like they were coughing.
That's acting.
Did you know that?
No. There was a legitimate rattle going on there.
I love though
that somebody. It's like they polled their audience. Like, who in here is a smoker for the last 30 years? Come up here and start coughing, please. Because there was a rattle going on that was real.
Watching things through the eyes of Danae has become my favorite thing about this podcast. No, because you really you feel it's
man, that was
I feel
so gross.
I'm just I don't know if I'm desensitized or I mean there are things that get me, but
Well, you
it's
have
just
to remember,
everything
man.
we watch, like even if it's a cartoon, you're just like, an animated show, I should say. I shouldn't say cartoon. I know that offends people. But even if it's an animated show, you're like, talking about the characters and stuff. Like they're just real people.
Because they are.
Well, until this job, I did not watch television like this.
I know.
So you might be right. I might just be experiencing this way too realistically. Anyway, like
No.
cheers
I'm
to
not,
whoever coughed up their
I don't
lung
mean
for the
that
show.
disparagingly. I don't mean that. Like I'm not making fun of you.
Old chap. Oh no, I didn't think you were.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Sometimes I wish I had that emotional connection to some things.
It's okay. I'm really disconnected emotionally to other things that are really important. So it's all just what it is.
I think it's probably true with all of us, right? I think
Anyway,
I just kind of but when we're sinning, we have to turn our brain on. But I think if I'm just watching stuff normally, like I do kind of do the whole like turn your brain off and just kind of try to enjoy it. But yeah, no, it's weird.
It is weird.
It can be very. But
I
that
interrupted you and
coughing's a lot.
It was awful.
What else you got,
So what
Jonathan?
other sins did you like?
So the only other one I had written down was treating your butler like his name is Alexa, which I remember that reading that in the script and just I sneezed because I laughed so hard.
I laughed so hard I sneezed.
I do that. It's a weird thing.
Better than dislodging your lung.
I'll go next. I wonder what a Wolferton is and why it splashes. Oh, I do hope it's a right adorable puppy dog who finds him in unexpectedly taking a dip in the pond. I thought that was great. I liked saying it really is incredible, the makeup job to make him look like Churchill here. I can barely tell it's Gary Oldman under there.
Yeah, that was great.
The Princess Bride shout out. How long does it take to say man and wife? Say man and wife.
So good.
I am very pleased with my read on that. I think you could watch Humperdinck say it and me say it, and
yeah,
it lines right up.
Was like I was like, is Chris Sarandon narrating this?
That's
part?
right. That's right. It was that good. Well, now I have to look up historical facts to find out if the Queen was this nervous at her wedding. Oh, turns out they're cousins, so that was probably it. I liked that.
That was one that had that was conversation, right? Because like Danae was concerned that they were so distant it didn't matter, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just like,
cousins,
hey, they're cousins.
though. Yeah,
that's
fine.
cousins.
They're technically cousins. I think it was like second and third, maybe. That's just going off the top of my head. So,
and some people would
Queen.
be weirded out about that, and the narrator pretends to be weirded out about, or the narrator is weirded out about that. I'm not weirded out about that. You can marry your second cousin. That doesn't bother me. But maybe I'm in the minority. I'm getting looks from my co-host. Maybe I should take that back. Maybe I should cut that out.
Thank you, Aaron Dicer.
Hey, listen, I'm playing it out there.
I just let you keep going.
What's your
keep
line?
Going, please.
What's your line? Second cousin? Third cousin? Where's your line?
hey, listen, there are so many people on this planet. Just go. Why?
So I would say 17th is where I'd start.
Danae with
but I'm with Danae.
Danae just laying down the truth. Why risk it, guys? Like there's billions of people on this planet.
There's so many people.
Fair point. I remain
like
corrected.
You don't have to find someone
I'm just trying not to judge people. I'm just
you're feeling good.
And there are stories of couples who didn't know that they were first or second cousins and ended up getting married.
True.
So
that's
like
true.
That
happens.
I'm just trying not to judge too many people. I'm just keeping the judgment level pretty low as much as I can. Listen, we're on the same page. I'm just saying today and Jonathan agree with everything I said, and we're all three in agreement.
No.
All right. Continuing on with the sin, shall we? I liked doing the pun Melroyal's Place. That was fun.
Good.
And then the subtlety of saying 12 months instead of 1/10 of a decade, which is so great because originally the sin was going to be saying 12 months instead of just a year. But then to say something even more abstract as the one that should be said, I really like doing that. And then finally, the last sin of the video was so great. That is no way to speak of the future queen. Made me laugh quite a bit.
That was another one that made me nervous when I wrote it because I was like, okay. These people are alive. No shade. Just making a little joke.
Just saying.
The ones that I like that you didn't mention were early morning bagpipers, only because I know that came from a real place when you wrote it, Aaron.
Sure did. I've had those in my neighborhood. Yep.
This is another one that I was like, but you overestimate her, you underestimate her. And then the narrator says, yes, but does anyone properly mate her? Wait,
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
That one cracked me up. But I really enjoyed the outtakes. The during the wedding, I think it was Homer that goes, boring. I felt that in my soul. I was like, yes, Homer, yes. And then the Brooklyn Nine-Nine outtake, because I was on that one, and that was so fresh in my mind. Like, your butt is the bomb. And just like the Queen's expression in that moment was so perfect for that outtake.
I feel like Danae's, like, after she heard that your butt is the bomb, she's really upset that she wants to go back and remarry Justin so she can say that to him.
Your butt is the bomb.
Are you and Justin second cousins or third cousins? I always forget.
Oh my God. Moving on.
Aaron's trying to drag us into this.
And then we had fun because Aaron sent me this message and he's like, I've got this idea for an outtake. There's this moment when there's makeup being applied to the king and I'm looking for an outtake. And so I went straight to Trixie Mattel and pulled out some drag queen conversation. But I had to scrub quite a few videos to find that particular outtake, but I really enjoyed it.
Perfect quote. Like, it was great. So the day drag Brenda quote was perfect there. So nicely done. All right, let's please move on to Blackpink Lovesick Girls. This was a Scott Watkins script. Jeremy and Jonathan writing on this one.
I got to write an MVS with Jeremy, which was fun.
So yeah, I don't have much left to say at this point about pop music. It is pop music, and sometimes I like it, and sometimes I don't. And this song I didn't really like. So
I have just decided I am all in on Blackpink, and I don't have a rational explanation for that.
Nor do you need one.
I find them entertaining, but this is one of the lesser songs for sure. Yeah. Jeremy, though, pointing out that they aren't very good dancers, I can never unsee that now, and he's not wrong, and it's hilarious.
Well,
and
their synchronization is so bad,
Yeah, that's the main thing. Like, they can move, like they have rhythm, but yeah, they're just synchronization. But they have dance videos on YouTube of them just like where they're prepping for the video. It's I don't know. That's even funnier now to me.
I'm always so distracted by their outfits that I forget to pay attention if they're dancing in rhythm. I'm like,
I think that was probably my problem too.
That's probably the point. That's probably why they do a lot of that.
I find their fashion aesthetic, even though it's probably like not their individual aesthetic, it's the company that owns them aesthetic or whatever branding that they do. They come in and they are like, outfitted. It's nonstop. I've said it before. Every single time their videos come in, there's so much to look at. And I'm not talking about like how beautiful they are, because they are beautiful. Yeah. Just literally their clothing. I want to pause it and say, because what I do, and I don't know if you guys do this too, because I don't know, like, is there I don't know. Anyway, I always pause and I'm like, could I wear that? The answer isn't probably not.
No, but I do try to figure out what things are, like, and I don't mean this like weird and pervy, like literally I try to figure out what things are, because there's like that one, I think it's Jenny, where she's laying on that car and she's got like these things that they're not boots, they're not like leggings, but like,
I know,
they're
it's
like
so fascinating.
They're like some weird like version of like, they're like some mix of like stirrups and hose.
Then the other thing that I liked is, and you guys send it, the sparkly sequin bra, but it's like over a t-shirt that also has like a design to it that's really colorful, and I'm like, that's a really cool look. I could pull that off in the right universe. Like, go back into the Futurama thing. There's an alternate universe
where Justin has black hair.
I'm so game. Yeah, like in my universe, I'm jeans and a t-shirt girl, but in this other one, I'm like super okay with these Blackpink things because they're just wild. And I would never put that together. I would never dream of being that bold, but I'm also not a pop star. Shocker.
And it's also it's also not like,
I just love their clothes. I'm so enamored by their clothes.
Like, it's not like, I don't know what the word is for it. But it's just fashionable. It's like, it's just very chic.
Yeah.
I'm totally down for like sartorial corner with Danae and Jonathan on all these videos where you guys just talk about clothing. It's just, that was one of my favorite things I've ever experienced, was listening to you two figure out what the boots are called. And
I'm not really a clothing person, although it is really funny. I do actually own more clothes than my wife, which is some people find hilarious. But
you got to be careful when you're not a clothing person. That only goes for inside the house. You know, you need to be a clothing person outside of the house. Just so we're clear on legal things.
I'll read what Jeremy had to say about Lovesick if you want.
What'd Jeremy have to say about this one?
Lovesick Girls was my personal introduction to Blackpink and is now the only K-pop song I have heard in its entirety. I am not a fan. I guess the point is they're pretty. I think that's it. Even new kids were good dancers compared to these girls. Their voices are 100% indistinguishable from one another. And the song seems to be both about being in love and realizing you will be alone forever.
Yeah, that was weird.
I suppose those two emotions could coexist, but it really feels like they couldn't pick a lane. My favorite sin that I wrote is the cake lyric one, but Jonathan's WWE one was pretty sweet. Overall, this video is edited way too much, with cuts going by like fragments in a Sins video. It was frustrating. The melody is boring. The imagery is generic. There's a sin about one of the girls in front of a giant nothing sign, and I really do think that says it all.
Nice. I agree with I associate myself with the remarks from the gentleman from CinemaSins.
I concur.
The messaging thing is interesting, though, because it did feel like they didn't want to offend anybody. So they covered both areas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need a relationship and you really want one, because that's okay if you want one.
Right. But also it's okay that you don't need one. But,
it felt
but maybe you need a perspective for your song that is consistent, possibly. Let's get into the video itself. I enjoyed the car is pink. The car is pink because, get it? I thought that was really funny. Why is she on top of the building? Why'd she go up there? Is she Batman? That made me giggle. I really enjoyed that. Property damage, you can get charged for that, as a lot of girls learn the hard way after the Before He Cheats video. I thought was a good call. And then simply, you guys, I think music might be dead.
That was one of my favorites.
Made me laugh.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was really interesting having Jeremy write on this instead of Barrett, because this was Jeremy had never covered one of these before. Barrett and I had covered a few of the Blackpink ones, and it was just funny getting Jeremy's perspective on everything. And because I really also liked That Was Terrible. That's another really good one in this.
Yeah. What about you, Danae?
Starting off right with what the hell is this? Is this a music video? What am I doing here? I don't narrate this shit. Oh, who am I kidding? I narrate whatever they put in my face. All right, let's get this shit over with. I just really loved how we kind of just played into Jeremy's intro. But I kind of like the crossover, though, to be honest, because I think it's important sometimes for people to remember that we are all part of the same CinemaSins umbrella. So that was kind of fun. The girls appearing to be in parking lot crosswalk. I'm going to focus on the neon words behind them, which are "Born, Die Alone." And that is some dark stuff for a pop video. That was pointed out. The Nothing video, or the Nothing sin that Jeremy mentioned. And then also just sitting all the food, the fries, all of the food stuff.
Yep.
The fryer splatter oil. The mention, like, wait, this is turning into a fantasy really quick. Okay, like, moving on. So,
Jonathan,
it's fun to hear Jeremy's perspective, kind of just like you were talking about, Jonathan, to have it kind of be on the channel. I like that a lot.
It is interesting to me when we are aware of kind of each other's tells. And it's interesting to me in the comments when you see that we have fans that are fans enough that they're also aware of our tells, and we've said before, you're never going to be 100% right, because we've had people that think they know or that are wrong, but you get it right a lot,
Yeah, you do.
Well, like Jeremy wrote the David Cronenberg sin, for instance. I think people probably would have assumed that had been me if they knew I wrote on the script, which was genius. I love that.
I just like when we try to intentionally troll, and I'll write an Aaron sin on purpose, just to kind of be like, I'm going to write an Aaron sin here. Or whenever I try to channel Chris or something.
The best was when Danae wrote that Eraserhead sin, though, and Aaron's like, you could have given me...
Yeah, I would be very broke right now if we had taken bets on that, because I would have bet everything. God. Jonathan, did you have any others you wanted to mention from this?
I will. Going off that part about why is she on the roof, I love I'm really sad about my relationship. Better hit the roof.
Yeah.
And he mentioned the cake lyrics, but that was outstanding, him doing that. And I am not comforting Lisa in this scene. It was kind of fun to do a play on that. We've done stuff like that in the past. It was kind of fun to get one of those in and do a different variation on it. So
nice. That is Music Video Sins for the week, so we will move on to CinemaSins Polar Express. Even before Thanksgiving, we're talking a little bit about Christmas. So this was a Dicer Scott script. Jeremy and I wrote on this. What's your experience with Polar Express, Danae?
I've seen it.
Yeah?
But I don't remember how... I know that I was already like an adult when I saw it. Mm-hmm. And the only reason we watched it, I think, was because maybe Justin said he liked it.
Okay, I was just curious.
But I don't remember why I watched it. I just remember being like, oh yeah, this is just as awkward and scary and terrifying as I've been told. Because I genuinely, like, the sins about it being a horror video, that was my experience watching this movie. Yeah. And I know that it suffers from, at the time, CGI wasn't as developed, and there has to be an experimentation.
It's the first
in CGI somehow. Right, there has to be a first. But
I should clarify, not the first CGI movie, that was Toy Story, but it's the first performance capture computer generated movie. That's entirely done on performance. That's where they put
the little dots on to people's faces, and they tried to mimic the motion of conversation on facial expressions and stuff. And for the most part, it's not horrible, especially when you think about when it came out and all of that. It was interesting to watch. And the other thing is that it's a book that a lot of people are familiar with, and so it has that going for it, where it's telling a familiar story, at least for those of us who've read the Polar Express. But yeah, I would never. Justin wants to show this to Iris. And I'm like, this is nightmare fuel, man. There's some really freaky stuff that goes on in here.
Not wrong.
But
you're not wrong.
But at the same time, I think comparatively, she watches The Lion King, and she gets to see lions fighting and lion murder. So she's probably going to be okay with some of the things. There is that one train cart though that's packed full of nightmare fuel.
Mm-hmm. All the puppets and stuff.
The puppets, and that's just genuinely alarming. And they play into that. But you couple that with quote unquote poor animation style, and it really just takes it into another level.
Yeah.
So
even in Toy Story, you've got the other toys,
right?
There's creepy stuff in every kid's movie. That's okay. Yeah.
It's so true. And maybe I'm super sensitive because I was raised that way. But you're talking about Toy Story. She's seen Toy Story, and has the dolls that have all their hair pulled out, and then the weird creepy mechanical legs attached to a doll, and the kid that tortures Sid or whatever his name is. So I think it could be fine. But the thing that I do love about this, I do like a good Christmas story. I think that there's some, and this is, I think, it's a fun Christmas story. And I love Tom Hanks. And so there's just something about his voice that I just feel a sense of peace whenever I hear it. It's just, I think you guys probably have that same actor or actress that just puts you into a good mood. And for me, Tom Hanks is that.
There's definitely a lot of Tom Hanks in this movie.
It's crazy, though, because we talked about Monster House on this show a while back because we covered it. And I think that was the follow-up to this. And it's night and day, the way they look.
Yeah.
Monster House. And Monster House still had some visual issues, but it looks so much better than this. I don't like looking at this movie. I just don't.
Yeah, it's hard to watch.
It's
really hard to watch. It really is, and that's unfortunate because I do think there are some good things under there, but it is hard to watch. What did Jeremy have to say about Polar Express?
He said Polar Express was a movie that the generation behind me adores because they were kids when they saw it. And I was a theater manager with good taste. I also think the movie gets extra love / forgiveness because of how beloved the book is. It's clearly too early at this point for motion capture performances to look good. So everyone in this movie looks creepy. I swear when that girl on the train turns and smiles at him for 5 silent seconds, it is scary shit. My biggest beef is obviously the Aerosmith elves. Oh my God, so true.
Just out of nowhere. It's just what a weird thing. Yeah.
He adds, what more needs to be said about this scene besides the fact that it's one of the stupidest in all of film history? I don't want to piss anyone off, but I don't like this movie. I don't find it charming. I think the multiple Tom Hankses are creepy. I think the point is murky. I guess he believes in Christmas again at the end. Good for him. Most kids don't need to get a special train ride with Coco up to the North Pole for a meet and greet with Santa in order to believe. Maybe this kid's just a jerk. The best sin is clearly the one that Dicer wrote about the child ruining Christmas for their school class, though I enjoyed sinning his room for lack of personality. This is also a good script where collaboration helps, because there was a sin about the hobo turning to dust, then a sin where Thanos gets mentioned casually, and in the notes, Dicer suggested calling back to the hobo turning to dust there and the Thanos mention, and it made the whole series just sing, "The movie still sucks, though."
Yeah, agreed. I don't think we really need to talk about the movie too much more. Let's talk about the Sins video. Danae, why don't you kick us off here?
Well, the Santa is real. He's just dead. Takes the cake for me. Does everyone know that comes from a real story?
Well, yeah, because he told the story on this podcast.
I think I have.
couldn't remember.
Because somebody in the contents was like, or in the comments was like, BTS fans know, or something like that.
Cool.
I think
I was talking about, because my daughter last year let us know that she knew. And I think that's where the conversation stemmed from. And then Aaron told us that story about his evil child.
That's one of the hard things about it's one of the hard things about doing a show with Aaron for so long is I literally just don't remember where we've told what stories. And so I love that. That's a great comment. BTS fans know. Oh, makes me so happy.
Yeah, it was one of my sons, and it was kindergarten, and we did get a note from the teacher saying, "Hey, you might want to talk to your son because this is what he said in class today."
Oh,
Santa's
we're having
real.
to decide.
He's just dead, guys. Santa's real. He's just gone. He's dead.
We're having to decide what to do with Santa now, especially since she's old enough to start to interact. And Justin mentioned something about Santa can bring the present. And I was like, oh no, I'm not jiving with the Santa thing, obviously. I don't know.
Well, she can't actually go see him this year either, which kind of,
No, it's the first year she's not going to go see Santa since she was born, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll just Photoshop it or just not care.
Either way.
It's fine. There are worse things. I also liked the decision to have the narrator go, "Ah!" every time that there was a new character showing up.
Yeah.
For me, that just got funnier and funnier the more that it happened. Even though it was really quick, it was genuinely exciting.
Yeah.
Pointing out that the spurting hot chocolate all to the correct distance, filling each cup is gross, mathematically impossible, and gross. It really did look gross. I feel compelled to ask, "Are you fucking kidding me?" movie. Just as the kid climbs the top of there. I wrote down so many because I was having fun. The subtitle saying "Grab my lily," and now I'm nominating "Grab my lily" as the worst thing ever under any circumstances to be said to a child. And then later on, "Grab my muck stick" is mentioned. And then the sin is, as if not to be outdone by "Grab my lily," "Grab my muck stick" has entered the chat. I was so entertained by that. I laughed so hard. And I think I'll let you guys take over because I wrote several more. You might grab them.
Jonathan, what else you got?
This goes on for some time. I thought was very funny.
And it does. He does that robotic ho-ho thing for like 5 minutes. It's crazy.
It was so creepy.
I'm launching some of my own butt magic your way. Was great. I see these pots have a post-coital urination setting. Nice. I also loved the way he read, "I wouldn't mind missing this thing." I thought it was very good.
Yeah, he's
saying it, I guess.
There's something about the way that Jeremy narrates on a script that he's watched the movie for, where you can tell he has genuine, almost just disdain for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the thing about Christmas. Some people don't care about Christmas, and then the narrator's like, "Yeah, like 3/4 of the world actually," which I thought was a really great observation to make. I really enjoyed that. The combination of Harry Potter and Forrest Gump, in the scene with the train and the floating feather, being like, "Life is a box of chocolate frogs. You try not to think about the cloacas while you're experiencing it."
So good. I knew one of you was going to grab that one. Not the cloaca. Don't grab a cloaca. I was saying this. Anyway, you got it.
Or your second cousin, for that matter. Don't grab your second
cousin.
Your
guys.
Second
I mean, I don't know who would.
Cloaca.
I don't know who would even hint that second cousins would be in any way appropriate.
We're gonna get.
Please get over that.
That's some interesting. Some interesting Mail.
I
Do we
just
get
wonder-
mail? I don't know.
We did get mail. We did get mail. I guess it'll take a couple weeks for us to get mail about that topic.
Yeah.
We'll get pictures of people's weddings being like, I married mine.
That's right. The observation that this movie is the genesis for deep fakes in the ruining of our democracy was fun.
It's terrifying.
And then that you're destined to be an elf on the shelf because you're dead and cremated and in an urn on a shelf.
That was so good. I can't believe that, Jonathan, you didn't mention one does not slam a light bulb into position.
Yeah, overkill.
Yeah, this
Oh
was
my
a lot of
God.
fun to work on. Had a blast with this one. Let's move on to Crank, shall we? This is an Atkinson share script. Chris and Barrett writing on this one. Let's go straight to them. Let's hear from them first. Did either of them have anything to say?
Yeah, well, Chris wrote about Crank. Do you want me to read that first?
Yeah.
Or, Jonathan, do you want to share your thoughts first?
No, read Chris's.
Okay. He says, Crank was one of the big surprises of the O's, the aughts. That's the year 2000, just for anyone who's. It was a movie that was made with pretty much strictly fun in mind. The plot is simple. Jason Statham wakes up with a poison that will kill him unless he can find a way to crank up his adrenaline. He can do this a variety of ways, get in fights, use drugs, and even have sex. That public sex scene in Chinatown plays a little differently now than back in 2006. I forgot Amy Smart's character outright turns him down twice. I think the main reason why she turns him down, according to movie logic, is so that she won't look too eager. But what it really does is make that scene icky, even when she finally decides it might be fun, which is unbelievable considering what happened just before. I think my favorite thing to sin was when Statham is in the hospital being chased by two cops. There's an unnecessary scene where he runs into a patient's room, hides, evades the cops, evades the cops' search, and gets in a hospital gown. His disguise will surely work, but it's mere seconds after that he's immediately identified again. I believe the whole point was to get Statham in a gown and derive humor from it, but it's movie padding at its finest. I also spent way more time studying a gas station refrigerated drink display than I should have.
Welcome to the world of being a CinemaSins writer.
He says there's a shot from behind the display that shows him deciding between various energy drinks, but one shelf clearly has Welch's stickers on it and is nearly empty. And when the camera comes around to the other side, we see Monster energy drinks on the shelf where we didn't see any before.
Yep.
My favorite sin I wrote was on the rooftop climax where, for no reason, the movie cuts to a bizarre, distant overhead shot where it looks like someone was instructed to turn a camera on and move it haphazardly. It's a brief cut that lasts about 2 seconds and is insane. And the only sin to write for it was one where we make narrator Jeremy seem frightened of the shot, reminiscent of the 12-cut sequence where Liam Neeson scales a fence in Taken 3.
Yeah, very nice. Jonathan, why don't you kick us off with your thoughts on Crank? Do you remember watching this?
Oh yeah, no, I've actually seen this movie several times. I haven't seen it in a while, but they're like whenever it, I think I saw it in the theater, and then whenever it popped up on cable, it was just an easy movie to have on like in the background or something because it's quick, it's kind of fun. I don't know how much I like it, but I just know it's very watchable.
Yeah.
And I do agree with him on the Amy Smart scene that definitely got creepier over time. But you're kind of caught up in the energy of the movie, so I think probably if you're not actually paying more attention to it and trying to sin it, maybe that just kind of goes past you. I love Dwight Yoakam, by the way. I really feel like we missed out on like a string of movies starring Dwight Yoakam, although he did get to be in quite a few things. But he's a really fun actor, and he's really good in this, what little he's in it. But no, I remember it being fairly enjoyable to watch. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I don't have anything like deep or profound to say about it.
I rolled my eyes a lot when watching this when it came out. I just, it's not meant for me. It's silly, it's crazy, it's ridiculous, and over the top in ways that I'm just it's not something that entertains me. At least specifically at the time. Now I've changed as a movie watcher in many ways. But there's something fast and furious about it that I get, I get the craziness part, but yeah, there's not, I guess this is so strange to say, I guess. But Fast and Furious at least hints at having a heart, like with the family stuff and there's some story character stuff there that I can also attach to, where I don't feel any of that here. It just, nothing matters here. Nothing in this movie felt like it was consequential to me. I guess is what I'm saying.
But there are movies where that happens and it's fine.
Sure.
I mean, not everything has to,
No, I'm just talking about my own personal tastes.
No, I got you. I got you. No, and I don't think I've seen the sequel. I've heard that it's even more insane, which kind of makes me curious.
I've seen it. Yeah, and I don't remember a ton about it, but it is definitely more. It's amped up even further. So yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it because I remember watching this video. I was watching this video, and at the end where he falls from the helicopter and splats. I'm like, well, how did they bring him back?
Yeah, that was literally the sin at the end. Like he survives this. Having never seen this, I have 0 point of reference. I immediately was wondering if I needed to go look up how did he actually, or is that a joke? Because I couldn't tell if we were making a joke or not.
And they make the comments in the video, they send the thing about the video game. I mean, I do think that is exactly what this is supposed to be. I mean, I'm not a gamer, but this felt I remember watching this felt very much like you're playing a video game.
Right. Yeah.
Where nothing is, there's no consequence, right?
Sure.
You can just,
right.
You can keep repeating shit and stuff.
Yep.
So
yeah, definitely.
I've never seen it. I don't think I have a desire to, but at the same time, that adrenaline pumping style movie is sometimes that action sequence that is just, it's not a drama, it's not a romance, it's not a comedy, it's just straight up adrenaline rush. Watching the camera angles and just the feel that you were getting from it, I was feeling an anxiety tick from just watching the Sins video. And we've talked about movies. There was a movie that you guys talked about where it was like in anxiety the entire movie. I can't remember what it was called.
Probably
it was a couple months
Gems.
Back.
Probably Uncut Gems, I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Where it was just the whole thing was just an experience where at the end you're like almost exhausted and you don't know if you can go back into it. I think it was Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler, right? Yeah. So this one, in a way, reminded me of what I was feeling when I was watching Uncut Gems, only this is dialed to like, it's cranked up. And so I think that it's doing what it wants to do, a crazy wild story. So I don't have any desire to watch it. In fact, I found myself, even when I was writing down the sins that I was enjoying, because it was so fast paced and things are happening so quickly, I failed myself. I didn't read Wikipedia before jumping in, and I should have, or I should have at the very least read Chris's notes, because he does a good job of sort of describing things for me.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I was along for a really interesting ride on this one. And that particular scene of the public sex was really uncomfortable to watch.
And especially when you think about it, and it's like, knowing the plot of the story, it's like, is public sex really going to raise your heart, rate or whatever, more than just running in place or something? You know what I mean? Like it's just such a ridiculous thing.
But there was something too, though. Like he had an erection or something. I can't remember. There was more to it.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Let's
and that was probably part of the humor, as well, is just this crazy erection.
It's definitely part of the insanity.
Chris was dead on, though. They're trying to. They don't like. I think the writer was like, well, we don't want to make her seem like she's really eager to do it, but then because they did that, it almost looks like she's not giving consent. Like that's how it comes off.
That is how it comes off.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
I don't think. That's definitely not the intention, but that's just how they wrote it.
She gives quote unquote consent in hindsight, which newsflash. Not consent.
Not consent, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
Danae, why don't you start us into the Sins video?
Yeah, I just have a few, the class rings, like who the fuck wears those?
Yeah, that was
at this age. I really enjoyed that because I was literally just going, where's my class ring? The other day.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to my class ring, and I was wondering if I could figure out how to get like a replica of it. And then I thought, why is my class ring important again?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially since I hated high school so much. So that one really cracked me up because it sort of helped me to work through my own personal issues on that exact topic. Irony, really interesting thing. But Chris mentioned the sin about the, I hope the camera operator's okay. That was a really, I don't know why, but I really loved that sin so much. It was set like, because almost like the narrator was just so into the movie, and it was a really weird camera angle. It literally was uncomfortable. So for Chris to kind of mention it in his, that was neat. He survives this. I talked about that a little bit already. And then the bad breath one. She's woke up and she just woke up and he's been through all this shit over the last few hours. Imagine how terrible their cumulative breath smells like during this intimate conversation.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that stood out to me as I was trying to make sense of what I was watching.
Jonathan, what about you?
I liked how I liked the different blowjob jokes. About the one was getting. I didn't write that one down, but one was like getting blown while feeding your dog raw meat, and then the other one was getting blown in a Volkswagen Rabbit. Blocking call cock blocking plan. I thought was very funny. And then my favorite, though, is this movie saying that the pigeon wants to fuck that woman with the thong hanging out of her jeans?
What a weird shot.
Oh, my God. What was that?
Those are great things, though. Like I love catching those moments, though, when we're sitting, because that is something, this movie is so quick, you probably don't even notice that, but when you're slowing it down, because you're looking for something in the scene, and you're just like, what the hell is that about?
Yeah, exactly. The original title for this movie was Hardcore Henry, Even Hardcoreier. Yes, I know that movie came out much later than this, but I will force this joke upon you. I love that very much. I guess the movie thinks that I'll give it a break for not playing Total Eclipse of the Heart, but movie is achy breaky wrong. After mentioning Billy Ray Cyrus, I thought was great. Geez, guys, I've heard of hand sewn before, but this is ridiculous after the hand is sewn. And then if anyone asks, my 101-year-old grandpa wrote that joke, made me laugh. Or Aaron. You could just insert there, or Aaron, if you wanted to. And then, dude, how have you not learned about the perils of premature celebration before now? Very well said.
One more I didn't want to point out, because I love how Jeremy read it. Sure would be embarrassing for my boobs to be uncovered in this situation.
That was good.
Such a great way to point that out.
Totally overreacts. It's hilarious.
That is the weekend sin. Let us move on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
Let's take a look at some of the stuff we had to do to get the stuff ready this week. Could be some research, could be a deleted sin, could be some randomness, whatever the case may be. Jonathan, you've already said you don't have anything for this week, so...
Well, I mean, the only thing I really looked up at all, because I wrote on the Blackpink video, I did when we were talking about it, I did look up, because Jeremy mentioned I wrote that sin about wrestling. I know nothing about wrestling, so... I did do some research. I was just trying to find, I wanted to know I was looking for an interesting wrestling move to put in there, but I didn't do a lot of research into that. I found that double axle or whatever. And then that's not what I wrote, but something. And
I thought that was a figure skating move.
Yeah, I think that's figure skating. And then
I found out your research, man.
Yeah, I found out about. Well, I didn't write all this down because I was thinking I didn't look up anything, but then that got mentioned. And then I did find the thing where Becky Lynch, is that right?
Yeah,
and Ronda Rousey. So I found out about that wrestling match. So I added that in because I thought it would be funny. And then Lisa, just in the video, she had on this belt that just kind of looked like a WWE championship belt. Yeah, you guys did
really good, because at first I was like, oh, we're talking about WWE. My husband is a WWE guy. And so I lean in to sort of pay attention to it. But then it subtly points to the belt at the end of the edit of that sin, which helped me to go, oh my gosh, this is about her belt. So I love that. I thought you guys had been on that.
Yeah, but that was just that was really all the research I did this week. So
I'll go next. So Danae can end with all her beautiful crown research for us. But in Polar Express, I did catch a couple things. And I just think it has a lot to do with Zemeckis really liking Easter eggs. I think he loves to put Easter eggs in his stuff. And there is actually, the one thing I did want to mention, it did not get into the script, but there is a flux capacitor in that train for the Polar Express. It is in the engine room of that train. And, when you think about that and the fact that he also did, Back to the Future movies and that kind of thing, the idea being that train is also maybe the Back to the Future train and also possibly time traveling. And then you start to get into ideas of is the kid actually Tom Hanks as a kid? And now he's you can start to have all these theories, once you start to see the train as a time traveling train as well, which it kind of has to be. And honestly, if Santa is real and going to do his job, he kind of has to be able to time travel as well. So, You know, I don't know. I that was a particular one that even though it didn't get in the script, I thought was fun to mention.
What do you mean if Santa is real?
Jonathan, Santa is real. He's just dead.
He's just dead.
I should have said if Santa were still alive.
I was actually thinking when you wrote that though, that sin about the Santas, that I forgot to say this when we were talking about it, but I was like thinking like, I'm sure like kids don't watch our videos that still believe in Santa, but like, holy shit, what if one watched that? It was just like, Mommy!
I do think about that as somebody who has been in radio, we can't have those conversations on a radio morning show because kids are parents are taking their kids to school. And so, but I'm much looser on podcasts, and maybe it's ruined something for somebody. It probably has, and I just have to live with that. But yeah. And actually, if you want to know the sin that I wrote for the flux capacitor, I think it was hard to really catch it's really quick, so it's hard to kind of show it. But the sin was, this is clearly a flux capacitor, which means this train can time travel, and that this kid will eventually use it to make out with his mom, if I understand the rules of time travel correctly. So
what is with you and incest this week?
It's just a theme this week, which I had to mention. And that's not on me. That's on Back to the Future, just so we're clear.
Oh, my God.
Danae, tell us all about your Crown research.
Oh man, I did so much. I learned interesting things. There's one that was like 70 facts about the Queen and Duke Edinburgh's wedding. Which, of course, I'm not going to read all those to you, but the dress that she made, due to rationing measures in place following World War II, Princess Elizabeth had to use clothing ration coupons to pay for her dress. But that was interesting. And hundreds of people from across the UK sent the princess their coupons to help with the dress, although they had to be returned as it would be illegal for them to be used. So people kind of pitched in. So I thought that was really interesting. There's a lot of really interesting facts about the wedding, but mostly I was trying to find out her state of mind in that time frame, because the show, for someone who has zero understanding, zero history, zero base of who these people are, except for what I know in today, I didn't know who her husband is or like their relationship in any way or shape or form. So I also was looking up just like facts about them together. So I'll just tell you the title of these tabs, and if you guys have a question, maybe I know it, but I probably don't. 11 things that the Crown got wrong about the British royal family was something else that I kind of pulled up just to sort of learn if there was something that I could kind of point out, especially as I was really trying to figure out how much is made up.
Right. And there's quite a bit. They do shift quite a bit around.
Her discomfort on her wedding day, I don't think that I believe that was real, because she actually really fell for Philip. Isn't it Philip?
Yeah.
When she met him years previous, when she was 19, and she was just really infatuated with him, and they wanted to get married. So I don't know if she met when they were 19. That might have been even earlier than that. But anyhow, they wanted to get married really, really early. So she was actually all for him. Now he did and has expressed his discomfort with her becoming queen and having to shift his roles and his expectations. That's something that people believe to be pretty true. So they're playing into that, obviously, for the show with the mention of the kids and stuff. So, because he gave up all of his titles and his experience to basically become her aide as her husband. And I learned that they sleep in separate rooms, which is really common. And that they do not do any public displays of affection. So their relationship is really not known. They don't talk about things publicly. I looked up who lived in Clarence House before. I found it really intriguing, the moment when in the show they're bringing this Clarence House more into this next century by putting in outlets and things like this. So you've got just these old houses. So I was like, well, who was in Clarence House before them? Did they have to boot somebody out? And so I found this interesting article that was about the history of it. So Princess Elizabeth and Philip moved in there in 1947. Previous to that, that was used as a British Red Cross house. They gave it over during the war so a staff could live there and kind of help to take care of things. And then there's history, on before that. It also outlines how people after that would renovate the space. After the Elizabeth and Philip moved out, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, moved in, and that kind of became where she lived and carried out her activities until the end of her days. I also looked up who Venetia Scott was, who is a fictional character. This is the person that works with Winston Churchill, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, who is this person? So this is a fictitious person that they kind of bring in for dramatic flair to kind of play the role of several other like assumptions and to eventually kind of get to the whole fog situation that happens later. I also had to look up what appropriate blood pressure was because that's mentioned.
120 over 80, right?
His was 155 over 90.
That is
so I was
too high.
It's too high. I looked up information about George the Sixth, the king, just to kind of learn more about his lung situation, stuff like that, which was terrifying and scary. I also looked up information about Princess Margaret since she's part of this and learned that she's passed away. So I didn't. So I kind of made me think like if the queen is watching this and seeing her sister when she was younger, just it's got to be weird, right? To see your family portrayed and
can you imagine?
Just kind of
I can't imagine how strange that would be to see a dramatic recreation of your life. Certainly lots of people have. There are plenty of biopics out there of living people.
This is my first time to go in. Yeah. So,
when that CinemaSins movie gets made, we'll just
right. Princess Margaret was kind of a wild one in the family. She was, I think, the first one to get divorced in like a really long time, if not the first ever. So she has an interesting kind of history. But so I learned a little bit about that, and then I have two more articles. One was everything you need to know about his death and this show. And what's crazy is there's actual video of these, like the day that Elizabeth and Philip were married, there's video of them on their dais. So it's just like we're able to actually see what they're portraying.
Yeah.
And then my final one was things you didn't know about Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip's marriage. And this one kind of was where I learned more about their relationship and just how they are with each other and how they respect each other, and they've been together for a really, really long time. So
the comparing thing is a big deal. I mean, that's how I started researching the nun, part of it, because I was like, I don't see a nun, So it was really, it's kind of nice as somebody trying to look at this stuff to be like, oh, it is an easy way to just compare and contrast,
There is this moment in The Crown when they step out onto the dais after being married and they're waving to the crowd. And she has this very interesting way she holds her hand in her
the royal
arm.
Wave.
The royal wave, which I'd never seen before. But because I was watching some of these videos that I was researching before I got to the Crown scene and I was seeing their actual wave, I was like, what are they doing with their arms? So then I got to watch it in The Crown going, wow, they're kind of like duplicating it and trying to just make it their, make it their real thing. So
nice.
Anyway, a lot of research went into it.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I'm very disappointed not disappointed, but it would have been really funny if after all that research you pulled a Madonna and like you came in here with a British accent because I've been doing a lot of research.
Done so much research.
I guess I should say for keeping tabs to all of my lovely British friends, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the English accents. I'm sorry. I tried. I tried my best.
I thought you did
sorry.
good. I'm
all
sorry.
Right, let's move on to the comments section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're just going to talk about a comment we found. It could be in the videos, could be through Discord, could be through Twitter. It could be anything from the week. And Danae is going to start us off.
Mine is from Twitter. It is from Polar Express from Quarian, who says, quote, Santa is real. He's just dead. And then he continues by saying, spits out drink. Has 1,500 likes, 10 replies that include, that was so funny. It's funny because it's true. I wheezed so hard. This caught me off guard. Crying in claws. Santa is dead. We have killed him. Crumpus rules. Just all this. We just have all this stuff. But just the reaction to that one, I think I love it the most again because we know the backstory.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It really
really
happened.
Fun to see
it really happened. Jonathan, what do you got?
Mine's from Crank. I've got this just killed me for some reason, but Ray Martin said should have been called Florida Man Visits LA. Which,
that's a good one.
The Florida Man jokes always slay me.
Never get old. Colin Davis on the Polar Express video. CinemaSins removes a sin for the logos. Me, I think I'm at the wrong channel.
Yeah. I saw that one. So funny.
Thank you as always for participating in this wonderful thing we do. We love having you around. All right, let's move into Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wildest dream.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're each going to talk about something else in the world of pop culture that might be going on that we've seen recently. I'll kick us off with a movie called A Whisker Away that you can find on Netflix. It's an animated film. And I've been watching a lot of animated films lately, and which could be because with production the way it is, they're the only ones that can get made right now.
Yeah, like all the animators who are just tied to their desk already.
That's right.
Are really tied to their desk now.
Right.
I hope they're getting paid well.
I had not heard of this, but I believe it is Japanese. Please forgive me if I'm incorrect. But it is a story of a girl who finds a mask salesman who sells her a cat mask that allows her to turn herself into a cat. And so she turns herself into a cat and kind of stalks this boy she thinks is cute as a cat and discovers he is lonely despite how it looks at school. He's having a rough time. I found it very real. Interesting enough, and I enjoyed myself throughout it. Now, there are plot twists and turns that I'm not going to give away that involve other properties and powers of these masks and how they work and those kind of things that make it kind of interesting on a sci-fi level, but it also seemed interesting to me on a human level. So, and it's available subbed or dubbed depending on what you want to do. I prefer subtitles. I like hearing the original language, as has been made clear in some of the Sins videos. But yeah, I wanted to mention it. It's called A Whisker Away, and you can find it on Netflix.
Cool. I'll check that out.
Today, what do you got?
I'm going to go with another Webtoons comic because that's usually the only kind of outside feed that I have on a regular basis. And I'm reading some that are really, really good right now. But just last night, I decided to pick up a new one that has only just recently begun. Oftentimes I reference or I recommend ones where you can kind of like, you can really get into it and it's been going for a while and it takes some time to catch up. This one's just started. And it's a little bit more violent. And like last time I was like, the Princess Club. And this one...
this one is death.
This one's definitely more serious.
Death
it's
in
called,
the streets.
So it's, again, on Webtoons. I have a couple other ones that I'm going to be recommending soon that are also more like serious. They actually have like graphic warnings and things like that. This one... they usually do a really good job of kind of warning you at the top of each episode if there's going to be some kind of warning. It's called Unholy Blood.
It is called Death in the Streets.
It's Lena Eam and Hyun Kim. I can't pronounce that correctly, but I was captivated by the image that they were giving, like the little thing. It just looked like it was really well drawn. So I've read only the first 3 episodes. They all started releasing in October. And this is an interesting story of vampires. So I'm very curious where it's going to go. I'm enjoying the artwork so far. And I'm curious to see, like, does this turn kind of more like vampire superhero combination? So I just thought I'd mention it because I think the artwork is good, but it is violent. It is more serious. Like, it has more of a serious tone. And I'll mention another one next week. I think that many of you guys would actually end up enjoying.
Vampire fiction's kind of interesting though, because there's just like so many different avenues you can take with that lore. So I do kind of, even though I don't know that I'm a huge vampire fan, there are some really interesting things that have happened in that area.
So Whisker Away is Japanese. Sounds like Unholy Blood is Korean. So Jonathan, what is your Asian Beyond the Sins this week?
Well, it's Mine's ridiculous. So I've watched a lot of really cool stuff this week. I started watching Queen's Gambit, which I'm really enjoying.
Oh, so good.
I started watching The Undoing on HBO.
How's that?
It's really good. It's really good so far. But last night I watched a Dutch movie, another country, about a killer elevator. So I want to talk about that.
Nice.
So this is the movie. This movie is called The Lift. It is from 1985. Well, it's actually 1983, I think, was when it was released in the Dutch area, Dutch regions. Yeah. But in the United States, it was released in 1985. So you might find either year when you look this stuff up. I watched this on Shudder. I do think it's available on other places where you can rent. Maybe even you can watch for free or something. But it is, like I said, it's a movie from the 80s. It's a Dutch movie. It's directed by this guy named Dick Maas, and it's Maas is his last name. So I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. It could be Mass. I don't know. But the reason I got to this movie was because I watched another one of his movies earlier in the week from 1988 called Amsterdam, which is the amazing title, by the way.
Much better than The Lift.
Can be best described as a scuba slasher. It's this guy's scuba diving in the canals of Amsterdam, and he comes out at night and kills people. But what's interesting about both of these movies, and especially The Lift, is like it sounds like a horror comedy. And if I went back and read reviews that came out when the movie was released, which actually it got some positive reviews, but what I noticed was everybody kept calling it a black comedy, a dark comedy. This movie is 100% straight. Like, he plays this absolutely straight. Like, and honestly, if you think about it, I mean, we watch movies with like killer cars and stuff. I mean, a killer elevator isn't really like that much to the imagination. And what's interesting is Dick Maas, he's a really good director. Like, you can tell that like he's an honest to God, like, good director. And so there's like genuine scenes of suspense. Like, I don't know if I'd go like Hitchcock, but I mean, there's definitely levels. There are definitely scenes in a movie about a killer elevator. There's a lot more legit suspense going on than you would ever expect.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating, and it's like, it's super bananas, but it's like, it's bananas in the way that I enjoy. I can't imagine either one of you would enjoy it. Maybe Aaron would enjoy this to a point, but if any of what I'm describing sounds of any interest to you, I highly encourage you to check this out. It's like one of those things where I'm watching it and I'm just like, I don't know if I like this, but this is like why I love movies, because the fact that something like this can be made and released like to a mass audience is just like so amazing to me.
Yeah.
It's like you can make movies about anything. I don't know if they really give an explanation of why it's happening. Maybe that's kind of a spoiler, but I don't really think it is. I mean, they definitely have there's conversations in the movies. There's like this company that, made the elevator, and there's some stuff about maybe some microchips that are, demonic. I don't know. Mm-hmm. There's something going on though. And there's just these amazing, and like I said, this is played straight, but there's like these amazing scenes, and there's this one where this guy like just gets totally fed up, and he goes to the elevator door, which is open, and it's just an empty shaft, and he just starts firing his gun down in the shaft. It's just amazing. It was like, it was a perfect movie to watch at like 9:00 on a Thursday night. That's all I can say. It was a great movie to go to sleep to. It was awesome.
That is a very Jonathan recommend for Beyond the Sins.
Well, it was just like, I actually watched like genuinely, like, I watched some great like classic cinema this week, and like I said, I watched some like great shows, but then I watched this movie and I was just like, I got to talk about this. I have to. How do you not talk about a killer elevator movie?
I don't know. So you said the director though is talented. So would you say that he elevates the material?
Wow.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well.
What a way to wrap it up. Sorry.
Not anything that you want to send us, you can snail mail it to us to our P.O. Box. P.O. Box 881 Republic, Missouri 65738. You can hang out with us on Twitter. We're at CinemaSins BTS for the show. We each have individual Twitters as well. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, your third cousin Melissa, and myself, we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
And I got distracted because I'm still prepping for the show.
Hey, we got a lot of balls in the air, guys. A lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, that's the best place for him. I have no idea what that means. I don't know if there were ever rails to begin with, but we are definitely off of them.
I just have this visual of like just balls hanging in the air and Aaron going, that's right. That's the worst where they go.
That's where they go.
Well, that's another case of balls in the air. What sucks though is I can't really smell anyways. Like that's just a problem I have most of the year. But I think the taste thing I would notice.
So did you overdo it on nasal spray too to lose your sense of smell? I have no idea.
It's something that's happened in the last like 5 or 6 years. It's just I've just noticed that like I don't smell things really, and I think it might just be like sinus and allergy. Just whatever. Just getting older. I don't know.
Well, that's a much less embarrassing reason than not paying attention to the instructions on the nasal spray when you were stuffed up.
I can talk about how I hate light bulbs.
Oh yeah, what was that about?
No, it was just the same thing. It was just funny. I was listening to the Sincast. I was listening to BTS, for review while I was in the process of changing out some light bulbs, and I was just like having to go through and make sure I had this kind and this kind, and I was just thinking like I don't know why we can't just everything can't just have the same damn light bulbs. My wife says it's her mom's fault because when she grew up, like her mom was always like, turn the lights off. We pay for that, And she'd have to like watch TV in the dark and stuff. And
yeah.
So that she like grew up with that stigma or whatever. So when we had this house built, she was like, I am putting in as many goddamn lights as I choose. And so we have
and a whole bunch of different kinds just to make you mad, years from now.
I was watching a movie. I don't remember what movie it was. This was years ago. And I was just noticing in the background how all of the lamps were plugged in. And it was all this like really long lamps. And then like one outlet that was for the entire room. I thought, man, a terrible time to live back then.
There was some chat in the Discord about some of those, quotes and stuff that happened between the segments.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this is the most public yet of my mini humiliations.
Yes.
Which sounds so much like Eddie Murphy to me that I thought maybe it was from Mulan, like him as Mushu or something like that. It's totally from Seinfeld, and I had totally forgotten that. But they were kind of having those moments where they were learning that these things that they had assigned in their brain what they were are completely different than what they actually are. So I don't know. It was kind of one of those fun things.
I thought it was Murphy as well.
Yeah, sounds so much like him, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's from Seinfeld.
Stop it. Quit.
Okay, fair enough.
I was just having a flashback to when we were talking about that, Aaron. When we were talking about that statue.
Which statue?
I was like, stop it. Quit it. No. Oh. I was like, I just did this to you recently.
Yeah.
Jonathan, have you seen the pictures going around on Twitter of, was it in Spain?
In Spain
Aaron?
again. Do you remember Monkey Jesus? Monkey Christ? Do you remember Monkey Christ?
No.
There was a painting that somebody tried to refresh. They had an artist come in and try to refresh a painting of Jesus, and they butchered it so bad, they basically turned Jesus into a monkey.
Oh, wow.
So
it was like somebody that was from the church.
Oh, I remember this. I didn't know that people were calling it that, but no, I remember this.
So there's been a new one in Spain that I showed Danae yesterday, and she was like, I don't believe you. I do not believe you. For those playing along at home, I think you can just search for Spain statue restoration and you'll see it. Look at that.
That was the restoration?
Yes. The before is on the left. The after is on the right.
Is the person related to the one who did the painting?
Right? They look so similar. Like, what is wrong with people?
But like that had to be on purpose.
No, it's been there apparently for a year, and people are just now noticing. They hired somebody to do a renovation. It's just like
it looks like Mr. Bill.
It does look a little like Mr. Bill.
It does look like Mr. Bill. Well, they're just these priceless things, you know, somebody with genuine talent and then somebody who doesn't have any decides that they can. It's like looking at a famous artist and saying, I could do that without any training.
Hey, you don't know. Maybe that was a really talented person, but they were told, hey, can you restore this statue, but this time make it look like my 3-year-old did it with Play-Doh? Like, you don't know the instructions they got. Maybe that's exactly
right,
what they were told to do.
What if it's like, okay, we want you to botch this so that more people come here to take pictures of it.
Listen, let's get into the conspiracy theories, folks. This is a marketing ploy that's been
a marketing ploy.
Been waiting for a year to happen.
I'll play some hold music for you. Do 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 do.
Yeah. Wait, that wasn't the rap remix of the hold music. Yeah.
What? Yeah.
What? Give me. I need. Name that movie.
I don't know. Dumb and Dumber.
Butt cheese and applesauce.
Yep, butt cheese and applesauce.
I love that movie.
Seen butt cheese and applesauce? I didn't think you would have seen that one.
Well, I saw the not the director's cut. I saw the other one.
Oh, you saw the theatrical. That's kind of rare because it came and went. But yeah, most people just have.
What happens when you eat butt cheese and applesauce? It comes and goes real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the same thing?
Maybe. No, you know what? You're right. You may be talking about, are you talking 1984 or 1989?
Well, considering I wasn't born in either of those years.
That's from What About Bob?
What about him?
Oh, I haven't seen that in forever.
Who's Bob?
Played by Bill Murray. Gimme. I need.
Oh, I don't know what you're doing right now, but it's really annoying.
Yes, it is. Let's start the shall we?